So we're here to talk about the opening intro to Star Trek Discovery, um, and let's set the meter so you guys understand where I'm coming from before I do this. Um, I'm primarily got into Star Trek in 1987, 1988 or so, and I was about 5 watching TNG with my dad. So TNG is my favorite series. So Star Trek: The Next Generation is my favorite intro, obviously, because it's the one I grew up on. Um, and I like those traditional ones from the 80s and 90s, and I even like Enterprise. But although originally I didn't watch Enterprise for the first season or two, all because of the intro being so weird and some of the stuff they did in the show. But then I loved Enterprise a little while after, around season 3. I went back and watched the whole thing. So the bottom line is I don't think there are any Star Trek intros I don't like. I even like Enterprise, which is the weirdest one, obviously, of any Star Trek. So, although I understand the criticism for it, because even my wife didn't watch it because of how different it was. But that being said, again, like I said, I like all the intros. Even though I'm not really a Discovery fan. I don't like Discovery really at all. I still like the intro to Discovery. I think is still pretty good. And the intro to Picard is really pretty good too, even though Picard is a mess, in my opinion. Well, it's just a mess. I mean, I don't know how you cannot think that show's a mess. But so now here's the third time is a charm, right? Discovery, garbage for the most part. Picard is a mess of crap. And now here we are, Strange New Worlds. 3 strikes and you're out. I guess Star Trek. Star Trek is my favorite thing of all time. It's my favorite show, series. And in my opinion, it's been dead for a while now. But let's see if we can revive it. But let's just get to the trailer. I love the lights lighting up on the Enterprise. I'm going to keep this trailer really basic, too. I'm not going to nerd out on, like, this position of the nacelle and that and what I'm not really going to do that. I'm just giving I'm giving more of a casual perspective on the ship, despite being a pretty intense fan myself. I like the ship lighting up at the beginning, like these zoom-ins and close-ups of the lights, the deflector dish and the close-ups of the panels. I think that's pretty cool. The whole thing starting up, then the overhead shot. It's a beautiful shot. Very, we've seen this in almost all the Star Treks. It really reminds me of Enterprise a little bit here. I don't know why, but that over the head shot. There's the maybe it's at warp there. I love the nebulas. I love the gas pockets, suns. I love the what they chose for visuals in space. I will say though that this intro looks a little CGI, like a little too like it almost looks like barely better than Enterprise. It sometimes like the CGI looks really like there's rocks that look really fake. But I almost wonder if it's not done on purpose to be a little cartoony. I don't know. Which I don't mind because the original series is a bit colorful and cartoonish looking, with a little cheese in there too from the original series. But I love this. Like, I love that we're getting these spatial looks. It's the closest to the Next Generation opening that I can remember. Because obviously Voyager and Deep Space Nine tried to copy from Next Generation. But I don't think anything was ever as captivating. When I was a kid, I loved space, and I loved space shows, and I loved PBS as a kid. And, you really get very close to some of that with some of these shots, I think, in my opinion, on the intro here. I also loved I do like Pike's, and intro, the reading. The iconic lines, "Space, the final frontier." I really think Anson Mount does a fine job. I don't think it's not the charisma of Shatner, and it certainly doesn't have the I don't know, Patrick Stewart's sort of he has a bit of an exotic British commanding voice. I would say it's a more calm. I feel like Pike's reading is more like, yes, of course, space. It's the final frontier. These are the voyages, and, here's the deal. No one's gone before. It's pretty cool. That's that sort of thing. So, while I do think it's the weakest of the 3, obviously, obviously. Like, you actually hope it is the weakest of the three, because honestly, I don't think I would want someone to be better than Picard or be better than Kirk. I think Pike is right there, though, with them. And with Archer as well in his. And with, it's a little bit different in Voyager and Deep Space Nine and things like that, but, you get the idea. So I love these shots, these close-ups. I think it looks really nice. I like it. I love this. I love that there's the nacelles and the whole, like, there's a little more blue going on here. But I love that, man. It looks like if I was a kid, I would be excited looking at this. You know what I mean? Whereas in Discovery, I thought the ship was way too flat looking, and I still think it's maybe a little too flattish looking. But this is much more boisterous and bold than the Discovery ship was, which was just flat and just very German expressionism looking in Discovery. I don't know how to explain it. Where, like, the Discovery looked more like almost like a Romulan vessel, because Romulans kind of have that look. So I always felt that the Federation needed to be a little more round, sort of signifying like this optimism or overall or equal or perfect, those things. But I really liked these shots. Whoever designed and came up with the nebulas, I love this sun heat reflection or whatever's going on here. I like the pacing and the upbeat tempo of the song. It's different than any other Star Trek so far, but I think it's needed. That fun, because it's the closest to the original theme. Because the original theme is very fun, and that old cheese Alexander Courage theme, like it's very like very circus like, very happy, upbeat, very exciting. Whereas I think the '80s one is my favorite. Obviously, the one that they produced that they made for Jerry Goldsmith did for the motion picture that they used for The Next Generation. That's my favorite one because it's so epic. It's the most epic of any of the Star Trek songs. So that is my favorite, obviously, but I told you, like I said, I grew up with the 80s Star Trek. Chances are whatever Star Trek you started watching first is the one you typically tend to love the most, I think. So I will say that that's my favorite, but I like this. I like this one, you know what I mean? At this point, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and all the other Star Treks are so iconic that I can't say that this is better. It's even hard to compare the song here to Discovery. Discovery, I think, has a wonderful theme. I love Discovery's theme. Funny enough, I don't like the show much, but I love the theme. And I really think the Picard theme is pretty good, too. I'm going to put this overall ahead of those two, though, because of the Enterprise and the spatial visuals. The Discovery one, it's really just kind of like a Game of Thrones type ripoff thing that they're doing, and the Picard one is good, but the show is so terrible that it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I do like it, but I will say that this theme with the visuals and the music I will put ahead of those two. Although I feel like it's possible that Discovery might have the best music of the three because it's more original and it's different. I think I might like it, but I like this upbeat tone that the music is having here, and this is my favorite. This is my favorite intro to Star Trek since Star Trek Enterprise in 2001. So this is my favorite opening since 2001 Enterprise because of the looks in space. This is a little bizarre. Like I said, these rocks and ice and space, this looks very fake. You know what I mean? So, like, that's the only thing is, like, this is a little weird looking. Like, this is a real image. Like, they're really panning around the ship. This doesn't look real. Like, I don't know. Like, that's one of my only criticisms is, like, what is this? It's something to do with the pan, too, the panning that they do. Or is this a painting and it's supposed to be like that? I don't know. It's very weird looking, though. It's like it's not done rendering. Like, this looks like a cartoon or something. I love this shot. This is awesome. This shot right here where the ship is flying through this purple, green, rainbowy space, whatever you want to call it, pinkish look. I love this shot. That's a crazy cool shot. Look at this. I mean, I love the colors. Um, yeah. Again, this kind of looks. It's weird because it looks. It's obviously got better CGI than Enterprise, you know, but it doesn't have. It does feel more like a TV show now than Discovery did at the beginning. Discovery felt like a movie, you know, and this still feels movie-ish quality, but Discovery was like way over budgeted for like how bad the storytelling in Discovery is. Although I will give Discovery the first season is well, let's not talk about them in this video. But the bottom line is I like this shot too. This opening is great. I love the ship flyby. Again, it looks like it's not done CGI or something. Like this isn't finished or something. I don't know why, but it does look better than Enterprise's CGI ship. So whatever that's worth, This, again, looks kind of weird, but I like the intro. I like the ship, shooting off here. And yeah, I overall, I really like, and I like at the end, they tagged on some of the original theme while updating it a little bit, and it's got this upbeat tone like the first, the original series did. So I really like, overall, I really like this intro for the most part, I think. Hopefully the show is good, because if it's not, then this is just another good song or another decent opening song for a Star Trek show that, we'll never watch. So then if that's the case, then, that will be too bad because they've already done that with the other Star Treks. It's weird because Discovery is so, like, there are parts of it that are decent, but then there's just stuff that's so bad, it's just not Star Trek. And Picard is great sometimes, but then because it's Picard, it's so much worse when things are bad because it's the TNG era. So anyway, this looks to be fun. Let's hope it's good. But overall, I give it, everybody that worked on this or came up with this for the most part, the only complaint at all that I have is that sometimes the CGI of the ship looks a little, I almost feel like it's not done or it's too cartoony. It's very weird. But it's certainly an upgrade from the original series, certainly an upgrade from some of the recent effects and the remastered stuff. I mean, this looks very much like a shot you would see in Enterprise or something, but a little upgraded. So I like that. So the only thing is the visuals are a little bit, I thought a little bit CGI, like cartoony looking at times. But that's about it. That's my only criticism of it. I'd probably give this a 7 out of 10. As far as, or 7.5 out of 10, which is great, in my opinion, because I'd give, TNG, I think TNG is the best opening because that's my Star Trek, but if I give that a 9 or 9.5 out of 10, and I give the, the original series like an 8, I give Enterprise like a 7.5, Voyager like an 8, and Deep Space Nine like an 8, something like that. I'd probably, I'm just throwing out numbers, trying to give you an idea where my baseline is. It doesn't mean that's how you guys feel. You guys may think Deep Space Nine's the best intro ever. I don't know. But it usually goes off of what you started watching first, usually. So yeah, this is right there. I think that, that again, this is my favorite of the 3 new shows. This is my favorite because it feels more like a real Star Trek intro, where Picard doesn't quite feel right, although the song's pretty good, and Discovery is a little bit different, but the song is really good. And in this one, I like the way they rearranged the original song and a little bit of the classic Trek song and upbeat it into this sort of fun, upbeat cartoon adventure, space adventure. And if you think about how TOS was originally supposed to be a Western in space, which is why I don't think I like TOS the best, why I like TNG the best, because TNG in the 80s really became the Star Trek that was more about the techno-babble and the emotional story, or not the emotion, but the the meaningful stories week to week of what they were trying to tell. And TOS still had a little bit of that old school Western vibe, like we're having an adventure in space, we could break the rules because it's kind of like an exciting Western. It was written by people from the 1930s and 40s in 1966. Whereas TNG, although it starts out by being written by those same people, after the first couple of seasons, really gets into different storytelling and has more of the technobabble, the science, logical stuff, moral dilemmas and things like that. So I think TNG is my favorite for that reason. And this probably does get into more of the Western meets moral dilemma thing. So maybe it will be sort of a hybrid between the original series, a little bit of that Enterprise feel, and then a little bit of the TNG in there. But with also a newer action adventure, So I think we're kind of going back to the Western vibe a little bit, but done in the year 2022, which could be good or could be bad. I don't know what it will be, but we'll see. I know that there's a controversy about the Captain April, but he wasn't canon before, so they changed his race, and there's a big controversy about that. I generally don't like when you race swap people, but it's not canon, so it's one of those things where like pick your battles about what you're mad about when things happen, and I don't. Maybe somebody who's like a hardcore fan of the animated series, I feel bad for them because and try to be empathetic with people about this, right? Think about it. You're a 50-year-old guy. You grew up with Star Trek. You loved it so much you watched the animated series over and over and over again. And you grew up with Captain April or whatever it is. I don't even know because I didn't watch it. But you grew up with Captain April being like a white guy with red hair in the cartoon or whatever. And so now they tell you they're casting this other guy and he's a black guy. And so like you just like that so doesn't look like the captain. When they try to get everyone else to look alike and then this guy, they literally change completely. You can understand. You have to empathize with somebody who grew up for 40 years watching and knowing that animated series, why they would be upset. They're not a bigot. They're not racist. They're just like, what? Like, this is shocking to me. I don't care because I'm not an animated series fan. And I think they're trying to get more representation on the show and check some boxes. There's a lot of, you know what I mean? At the time in 96, there was, in 1966, obviously they didn't cast a lot of minorities, even though they cast Sulu and Uhura and things, and Chekhov and things like that, and they did get that diversity in there a bit, and that was what Gene Roddenberry wanted. But obviously there would probably be more diversity in the future. There will be more, and I'm sure if Gene could have done that, he would have done even more, but he couldn't. He did what he could do, and that was quite a bit, actually. So you can see how some adjustments could be made, especially if it's not considered canon, which Gene Roddenberry said it was not considered canon. So I don't have a problem with it. I think it's a minor complaint, but I understand it. But it's not like they took, Nurse Chapel and changed her race or something like that, or changed Spock's race or, whatever. Those are things that could be, brought up later. I'm more in favor of just adding more different characters. If you want to solve a diversity thing, just add new characters that are diverse because that makes sense. Rather than you don't want to race swap, with anybody for the most part. You don't want to do that. But with this character not really being canon, only existing for one cartoon season or whatever it was, I have no problem with it. And then, they're going to be like, oh, he's the first captain, and everyone's going to fight about. And it's weird because he's not the first captain of an Enterprise, but he is the first captain of this Enterprise. And it's almost like another one of those things that they got to do that. He was the first, and of course it wasn't. It's just very, it is a little strange. But at the same time, it's really not that big a deal either way. I mean, doesn't make, I don't know. Anybody fighting over it, I think, is wasting their time. I think if you're fighting over Captain April, you're wasting your time. They changed Captain Keyes in Halo. They race swapped Captain Keyes in Halo. That was a way bigger deal than this. And even that, I said, well, it's a TV show and it's different. And they, whatever. I don't care. I didn't even care that much. You know what I mean? So if you're not mad about that, I mean, I'm not really that mad about that. So is the show good? No, not really. So let's hope that this show is good. Let's hope that Discovery Oh, I'm sorry, God. Oh my God, please no. Let's hope that Strange New Worlds is good, and it's fun, and it's optimistic while being smart. I'm begging it to be somewhat smart, please, because these other ones have been so terrible. Where's the bridge? I love this bridge shot. Can we get it, or is it not gonna? There it is. I love what they did with the bridge, man. It looks like the classic bridge, a little bit bigger, right? A little bit bigger bridge. It's got the red accents in the right spots. I think it's really pretty well done here. I mean, look wise, you got the look. We got the look. People like Pike, Anson Mount, Rebecca Romaine. I'm not 100% on the Spock yet, on the guy playing Spock, because in Discovery he was like an angry person that made no sense. He just wasn't Spock, you know what I mean? And Spock doesn't just change in 5 years, in 5 to 10 years, doesn't just change and grow into, I am so logical now. That doesn't happen. You're mostly that way to begin with. And I think that they are not correct when they are like, he's still a confused Spock who's struggling with his humanity and his man, no. For the most part, he's Vulcan. On the original series, that's what pissed off Bones so much. And, Kirk would say something like, Spock, are you okay with that? Okay with that? The man doesn't have a pulse, Jim. Like, it's like that sort of stuff, like, that Spock is so, that, McCoy, like, resents Spock for having these no feelings and no pulse at times, like you would say. It's just that whole thing, that dynamic isn't there if Spock is going rogue or acting erratic or getting angry sometimes every second or being in love every second and things like that. I mean, they sort of handled it a little bit in the J.J. Abrams movies. They had the weird love thing with Uhura. Why? Why is Spock in some love thing? But at least, even though he was, they pointed out all the time, like, how odd that is. Like, that they even thought it was funny. Like, Kirk was like, what is that even like to be fighting with Spock? What the hell is that like, And Bones is like, what'd you do? Like, it's just very funny because they do play it like it's Spock. So they got away with it in a weird way. Somehow. But I'm worried that in this they're going to take too much, of like Spock doesn't know who he is yet. It's like, what? So the minute Kirk shows up, Spock knows, like, oh, I'm the Spock you remember. I don't know. But if they explain it well, they could do it. If they explained it well, that he's studying more and more to stray from human to Vulcan. And he's practicing more, and he's eventually his goal is to go back and Kulinar and things like that. And so he's suppressed all his human emotions. Or if, towards the end of this series, he says, I've decided to suppress all of my human side and human emotions. From this point forward, I will be different, or I will be blah, blah, blah. And someone's like, are you sure you really want to do that? And it's like, I can't let my emotions control, but even that is like, that's not the, we didn't know that about Spock. So it's kind of like, ugh, I don't know, man. I'm just really worried about that a little bit. Not the biggest fan of this Spock. Zachary Quinto got away with doing it because he acted so much like Spock. Sometimes in his mannerisms, he did so well. He didn't have the voice, though. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I'll say is this new Spock, and I don't remember his name now, but the guy playing Spock now has the voice. He really has the voice. But Zachary Quinto had the looks down. He had the deadpan stare and the look. He had it down. And plus his eyes are a certain sideways more. This guy has very round eyes, and that's the opposite of what Leonard Nimoy looked like, so I'm trying to envision it. It's hard. But he has the voice down. If he just... In fact, his eyes are so wide, and he is so, like, human and looking. Like, that's the problem, is this Spock is so human looking. The guy has such an expressive face that the guy playing Spock now has such an expressive face that he really needs to sort of deadpan more. Like, he's going to work really hard to deadpan his face. Like, to... But, Captain, what do you mean? You know, he's got to really deadpan it. Because if he goes, Captain, what do you mean? Like, that's already too expressive. It's like, oh, man, it's hard to explain. And I feel bad for some actors who don't understand the Star Trek world, trying to act and trying to do these things and please everybody or just whatever. They don't know what to do. The fans are nuts, you know, like myself. So, like Will Wheaton, he's really nuts in real life. He's a psycho. I like Will, and I love Wesley Crusher, but good God, Will Wheaton, you ever looked at his Twitter? The guy wants to, like, he's anything but, like, Star Trek person. He, like, wants to kill people who don't agree with him. But that being said, you know, let's hope it's good. That's it. Leave it in the comments down below if you happen to see this video. I have many channels with 70,000 subscribers, but I decided to put this on my exclusive Star Trek channel. So this video may only get 5 views for all I know. But if you subscribe and make the channel grow, I will do more videos like this, a lot more. And if you like my other channels, go check them out. They obviously have a lot more subs than this channel. But I didn't want to bombard my other listeners with this since they're not all Star Trek fans. So let's see what happens. Leave it in the comments down below with what you think about the ship, the intro, the show, and we're getting ready for Thursday. Or actually, we're really getting ready for Wednesday night at 3 a.m., which is technically Thursday, but I'm probably not going to be able to sleep. Probably going to stay up to see it. I wish that CBS Paramount Plus or whatever, I wish they would release 2 episodes or 3 episodes at a time. I'm serious. I wish they really would. But they won't probably, so that stinks, but I wish they would release a chunk of them, you know, because I'd really like to binge some, but that's okay. I'm just glad we're back to episodic and not these long, drawn-out crap stories like Discovery and Picard. Discovery is really bad, and Picard is a mess. And that's all I got to say about that. Leave it in the comments down below. I'll see you soon.